Hello everyone, we are back. Welcome to episode 3 for your blue collar Cybertruck. Although today I'm going to be taking a little sidetrack here because of current events. And that's discuss the Rosenbauer electric fire truck. I figured this was so much in my wheelhouse that I would sort of break away from Cybertruck for just a moment and go into the details of why I think, look, we're in really, really early on something like this, but I wanted to just give an explanation as to why this is the way we should be moving towards for even fire trucks. So if you don't know already, my resume, I've been in the fire service for over 31 years. I happen to own a renewable energy company where we do solar as well as EV charging stations. I also own a Model S Tesla. So needless to say, I have a very good vantage point of these three subjects and can speak rather fluently about fire trucks and why this is pretty cool. So let's just start off the disclaimer. I don't know if this version of the fire truck has everything it will need to be capable of going around being used around the country. But it's a good first step, and it lays out the groundwork, and I'm going to give a synopsis of things with the assumption that version 2 or 3 has all these things. I think for the most part this does. Its battery capacity is probably limited. It sounds like it only can do 18 or 19 total miles initially, so I won't get into the details. That's not that big a deal, but for a city, that's probably fine. Since you're coming back to the firehouse on a regular basis and charging. But be that as it may, I think the next generation has to have significantly more miles. But let's just go through why this would be such a good idea, both for costs and for firefighters. Let me start off with saying one more thing. The looks, okay? Without a doubt, this is a very European-looking fire truck. I know firefighters quite well, and I know we like to have our vision and toughness of what a firefighter should, a piece of apparatus should look like. This is really not what we're accustomed to. I think it could grow on guys over time, but the truth be said, we're under no guidelines to have to follow this type of look. Having rounded edges, I'm sure, help with its aerodynamics and efficiency, but the truth be said, it's a big square box that's going through the air. I think if you wanted to make it look like American looking fire truck, you could easily do that. So I concede, no one has to put comments at the bottom. It's very Euro looking and not traditional US firefighting. So, okay. Oh, one other thing. There's also a lot of news reports saying that this originated from Australia. It's Austria, a little bit different. So just FYI, the origins of the truck are, like I said, from Europe and from Austria. But it's obviously made its way to the United States, and they have companies around the country.
Austria.
Austria? Well then, good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Let's not.
All right, let's start with what most people think is the most important thing, and that's cost savings. So electric trucks greatly reduce costs. Electric vehicles themselves have about a third of the parts of a regular combustion engine. So off the get-go, just by switching from diesel or gas to electric, you're reducing the parts by 2/3. Therefore, in theory, you're saving 2/3 of the amount of headaches that could potentially occur over the course of time, right? So there's no engine, there's no exhaust system, there's no drivetrain, there's no oil changes, there's no depth fluid replacement. You don't have to drive. You know, we at my firehouse, we maintain a fuel level of 3/4 all the time. So we wind up going to the fuel pumps at least minimum once every 3 days, and typically shorter if we're busy or if we have days where My district is rather large, so we put on some miles during the course of a day. So the potential exists that you actually, on a really busy day, running around we cover the New Jersey Turnpike, you could bang out 3/4 of a tank of, or excuse me, 1/4 of a tank of diesel fuel and have to go back to the pumps to refill. But anyway, by the cost savings of maintenance is drastic when you go from a combustion engine to electric, because you're basically just dealing with battery and motors. So in addition to that, the cost savings of electric versus gas or diesel is at least half. So, and it can be significantly more than that, depending upon your geographic location, depending upon, I mean, if the firehouse has solar panels, it depends if when you're charging, you can even charge at nighttime versus the day and save costs that way. And for instance, with no exhaust, since without a combustion engine, there's no need to have an exhaust system, like I mentioned. There's no need for a PLIME event. So the systems that we have in the firehouse that we need to get out and hook up every single day, that themselves cost a lot of money to purchase as well as to run, there's no need for one. There's also no need for a generator. The engine itself, the apparatus, since it's a battery, doesn't need to make electricity because it's stored in those batteries. So you're eliminating, again, the cost savings on the front end of not having a generator. No Jake brake. Now this sounds sort of funny, but the fire trucks, many fire trucks have what's called a Jake brake, slows down the apparatus when you take your foot off the gas. You don't need these things. As a matter of fact, the electric vehicles, on my car, for instance, anytime I take my foot off the gas pedal, the vehicle itself is immediately going to start slowing down. It's doing regenerative braking. So that's taking, not only is it slowing the vehicle down, or in this case, the apparatus down, but it's going to take that energy and put it back into the battery for energy savings. So it's doing two things at one time. It's also quieter. I mean, some of the older rigs are far worse than newer ones, but some of the old Jake brakes are really loud, and you have neighbors and people who are complaining. You'll see some places you drive that say no Jake brake areas. Obviously, that doesn't apply to fire trucks, but the point is it's a sort of a win-win-win. It's quieter, it's an energy savings, and it's slowing the apparatus down. It's also greatly reducing brakes. For instance, on my car, I almost never use the brakes. Within hours of driving the car, you'll get the feel for when you take your foot off the gas, the vehicle will slow down. So you're driving down a highway, the traffic light starts to change. If you time things properly, you just take your foot off the gas, the vehicle slows down over time. It's saving energy, and you get to the stoplight, and you've never used the brakes. Doesn't always work like that. Of course, you can use the brakes, but it's a great feature. So next is batteries and the motors. So again, batteries and motors are inherently maintenance free. They just go and go and go. Again, these aren't a Tesla system, but Tesla at this stage of the game, on their next generations of vehicles, are talking about motors and batteries with 1 million miles of lifetime on them. So for municipalities, again, when you're cutting maintenance costs in half or more, and the life of the apparatus is longer, this is huge. This is a game changer for most municipalities. I mean, I can tell you, our one apparatus, our one squad company, we have approximately $20,000 a year in maintenance. Just one piece of equipment, just one piece of apparatus. So switching over and getting rid of all these headaches and having a system that has 2/3 less parts is the wave of the future. All right, so that's government and cities, why they want this piece of equipment, because they can save money. Mind you, they can also be clean, right? We can get on board with having a transportation system that runs on solar and wind and whatever your city, your state uses for renewable energy. But what are the benefits for firefighters? Like, why would a fireman care whether the truck is the engine is, or the ladder is electrified. So with no engine, with no drive shaft, with missing half these components that regular fire engines have, the space that is opened up is incredible. It's why electric cars have a frunk and a trunk, and again, go back to the Tesla Model S. It has the most space of any sedan on the market. It's also 5-star rated for crash testing. So without the doghouse up front in the rig, you've eliminated this humongous space with the motor that you can now put things in, put equipment, put men, put whatever on earth your company uses. Right, more equipment and in a smaller area, which makes the apparatus ultimately smaller. Smaller apparatus, you can get it down streets that are tight. You can its turning radius is smaller. One thing I'll add too is the platform of most battery systems is flat along the bottom of the rig or of the car. And when you have a battery system that's low to the ground, its center of gravity is lower. So in turn, the rig itself has a lower center of gravity, so it's less likely, it's easier, it handles better, it's less likely to roll over, safer. Also, there's no engine noise, right? I can't tell you how many fires I've been on where the rig is just blazing away, whether it's the pumps are going, and you can't hear, you can barely hear on the radio. You have the radio on the either on your portable or on the side of the rig blasting as loud as it goes. So it's just nice to be able to hear civilians, hear the cops, hear guys on the radio, just do your job without hearing loss. With no exhaust systems, there's no CO and there's no pollutants. Like I said, beyond the fact that you're saving all this money from the climate vent system, it's also, guys are worried about breathing and getting cancer and lung cancer and stuff like that. Half the time, it's probably from forget the fires we're going to. It's the day-to-day, daily intake of diesel fumes from the rigs pulling out of quarters on every run. So that's gone. It's eliminated. There's no pollutants and there's no CO. Ease of charging. So as I mentioned, we have to fuel the rig up, 1 to 3 times every a day. Not every day. 1 day or up to 3 days apart from each other. You pull into the firehouse now, you're already plugging the rig in most cases with 110. You can just plug the rig in with the charging and you're done. So you're continuously topping off the rig's battery. But most importantly, there's no more runs to the fuel pumps. It's less miles driven just for the sake of driving places. It's also better for the guys. They don't have to leave the firehouse for no reason other than to fill. Also reduces daily rig checks. A tenth of our day nowadays is just filling in, checking boxes in the morning for everything under the sun for the apparatus, and checking the oil and checking all these things. With eliminating fossil fuels, every time you eliminate a fossil fuel, whether that be for the saws or for the rig, it's just less things to worry about, less time managing things, and less things that can go wrong. Safety. So because of like I said, because of the doghouse no longer being there, the engine, you're not surrounded the engine in the cab, that leaves a lot of space for safety. So the crumple zones that can be designed into the system. So heaven forbid you do get in an accident with the rig, you roll it or hit somebody from the front end, their collapse zones are there. Their electric vehicles are notoriously safer because of the added space with that lack of having an engine. I mentioned the center of gravity. This rig, the one we're showcasing here, is also 4x4 capable. So now in the snow, you have to get off-road a little bit for I don't know what, tractors on fire or into a field or whatever the case is, run over a curb. Now you have the capabilities of being a little bit more off-road without getting stuck. I also think just general operation of the vehicle is easier. This vehicle, you're going to push the button to start it, it's on, and that's basically it. Anything you need around that rig to pull off, you don't need to worry about starting the generator, or you forgot it for the extrication tools or whatever. Everything is just going to work. You push the button on, everything runs on electricity, the battery provides that electricity, and you're ready to go. Self-leveling. This rig and many other electric cars have self-leveling. So when you're driving down the road, it'll actually, on highway speeds, it'll actually lower so that your efficiency is a little bit better. But what's nice here for firefighters in this case is the when you're in quarters, the rig will squat down lower, so it's just easier. Again, it depends on how much equipment you're getting into the rig with, or how tall you are. But some of the rigs are a little bit more less user friendly when you're trying to climb inside. I've almost fallen out a couple times. I've seen guys slip. With the lower, easier access, lower to the ground, it'll squat. You get in. When you go to leave, it goes up to its regular height. This thing also has Wi-Fi on board. Another thing, I don't know why it's not common in all the fire service. I mean, we spend zillions of dollars on everything else, but almost every rig I've ever been in my entire career has never had backup cameras. A Toyota Prius has a backup camera. A 40,000-pound fire truck doesn't. So this has rear backup cameras. So anyway, when you start adding all these little things up, I think it's a no-brainer. We need to get past the idea of the looks first, or maybe change the looks. I think we need to get past the idea that batteries can't do what we need them to do. They without a doubt can and will. And look, the fire service is always been, people fight and resist change. I think it's pretty common in the service no matter what it is. And this is just one of those things. But at the end of the day, it's going to be cost effective for municipalities and cities and towns to do it. And a fire truck that runs on electricity will actually be better. It will not be a compromise. It will be better than what you've had. Furthermore, I didn't even mention you could have some form of solar panels on the roof of these things where you could at least recapture some of your power, or potentially just running things while at a scene where you're not at least diminishing the battery itself. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts. I hope this video makes its way through the fire service, and hopefully guys start to open up to the idea. We're several years away, but I think it's time to start really considering it. Thanks for watching. This is episode 3. Look forward to my next video, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much. Bye.